Alright, so today I want to start working on the Arwing. I was just looking at some YouTube videos about that classic series Star Fox and thought this might be fun to make. Um, so far I've just opened Blender. I've gotten rid of the default cube and added some reference images to use that I pulled off the internet. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do, Shift A to open this little guy, and then we'll bring up, let's say, a plane. Useful. I'm going to hit R for rotation, X to rotate along the X-axis, and I'm going to bring it up to 90 degrees. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to make the nose first. So to that end, I'm thinking we will bevel these edges because we have this laser cannon under here. So I think that'll be this area. We'll make that into its own separate face and this one into its own. And then we can poke a face here. And this can be our nose. So we will stick this guy out. And I noticed the Arwing's nose kind of sticks upward very sharply, so it's maybe even aligned with this up here. Something like that, maybe? That seems a little too severe. Maybe something a little less. I'm going to stretch that along the y-axis. It does poke out quite a bit. And and this is our cannon here. I'm gonna open this up a bit more. We can shrink that in just a bit. Maybe this one also a little bit. I'm on, wait, none of this is important, using the median point here, so it shrinks in between whatever vertices we're selecting. Like this will go in towards the center of it all. But let's make this little laser cannon here. So I plan to print out some 3D printed lasers that I want to be able to attach to the ship via some magnets. So I'm thinking we can create a port here, insetting a face, so we get this going. And I will bring that up just a little bit. And then with Eve to extrude, we'll go back along the y-axis. And thinking what magnets will I be using, because I got the 9 by 3 millimeter magnets and then the smaller ones. I think the 9 by 3s will be better for this particular thing, just to give it that added strength. Let's see what the edges are looking like here. Alright, so that is huge. And we only need so much, so let me see, we'll shrink this all down. I want it to be more like 10, maybe? No, more like 12, well, maybe 15. I'll see what it's looking like. 15 millimeters. That way we have a little wiggle room to work with here. Subdivide, and then I'm going to add with F3 cursor to active, so our cursor moves over here, Shift A to create a circle right on top of that, and we'll shrink this guy down to what? This is radius, so we want to make a 9 millimeter diameter, so we're going to go with 4.5, and then we'll rotate that along the X, and this will be kind of our laser barrel type deal here. That'll be at least where the magnet can fit in, and it's 3 millimeters deep. And I want it to stick out just a wee bit, so I'm going to go with 2.8 here. And do I want to do anything else with this general shape? Because if it's the barrel of a laser, you kind of want it to stick out and actually look like a barrel, because right now it'll just look like a hole with a magnet in it. But at the same, I won't worry about that right now. We'll get into the nitty-gritty details later. So right now I'm going to seal this up by creating faces here. Oop, nope. Need that one. Oop, nope. Got that one too. Alright. Okay. That'll be our front. And then we need to expand back to create the cockpit. So we'll take this outer ring and just kind of stretch it back along the Y. And, oh, we better get our reference images. Deselecting this guy so we can shrink all our references. That's okay. This is the image we're using mostly right now. It does stick out a bit more up. Where did you go? Ah. Okay, let's pull these a bit closer to where we're working. Okay. Okay, let's grab this. We won't need this face anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. And we got you. And let's stretch this out. The nose does seem to point more upward. I feel like it widens a bit. Nose. Maybe a little wider. Give Fox a little room to move around in. Maybe go down just a wee. Maybe most of these can go down. Oop. And I want this line to be straight. So I'm going to take this, subdivide it, and create a line out to this nose. We want that to stick up a bit. Maybe not to that end, but a little more upward facing. And then we'll take these two and try to align it as close as we can to this, just to give it that straight line. Well, it's like right over it. Okay. We don't need that anymore. So we have that kind of shape. Still doesn't seem very straight though. Oh well. Let's see. How's that canopy come back? Does it go downward here? It looks very straight on this one, but these are all by different sources. Like this is the N64. I'm pretty sure this one is too. This one's like a model somebody else did. This one too. All gonna be a little different. But the canopy doesn't. This is some kind of vent here. So, and that seems to go downward into this ship. So let's get rid of this line here. Dissolve vertice, and then we'll bring our cockpit up and then shrink. Get that shape, and then we'll bring it back. It does seem a bit taller on this one. And it goes pretty far back. Has a very pointed end. This is a surprisingly small craft for how much power it seems to have. But whatevs. Say this face seems to go back like so, and maybe even widens a bit. Let's go for this one's active, and we'll switch over to active element up here so we can stretch that downward a bit where those vents are. Wait a second. This is more like a triangular bit here though. So maybe it's more like just this. You know what? I'm gonna cut this in half, just so we have to only work on one side at a time. So we're gonna create some subdivisions along, well, every line. There, there, there. Oop. Okay. Well, we should be able to cut off most of this, and then we'll mirror it. Right. Let's connect these back up. These faces. This one too. Okay. This one too. I'm missing a vertex. Let's create that. And that. Alright. And now with that going, we can go over to our add modifier, generate, mirror. Now we have the other side. Oh wait, we just gotta mess with one side. And everything will be automatically copied over. So then we have this bit here. The side of the canopy. So this is maybe another triangular bit. Yeah, maybe that one there. And then there's this flat area here. I might widen. Yeah, it definitely seems to widen. So we'll go out here. That looks like one face, does it? I mean, it might be just because simpler geometry for earlier game systems, but I still want it to look functional while accurate. So let's think. Where does this line go? This seems to just vanish into the hole here, kind of like this. Don't have any good bottom picks. It does seem to. And it kind of widens out. So should this be flat? Like here? Maybe not entirely. Let's see how that looks. Well, I can seal this up. There we go. I feel like it widens more steadily. At least up to here. That would make the nose very, very narrow. Because there is this face and then this face, so that is how that would work. You know what? We'll work on getting the general shape, and then we'll make adjustments as we go. This seems to sink in a bit. Where do the wings come out exactly? They seem to be like about midway down the cockpit. It's around here-ish is where the wings would sprout out. Let's see, what kind of face would we be able to put that onto? I don't want it to be too weak. I want people to be able to enjoy their 3D printed Arwing here. I don't want it to be so fragile that it just kind of sits somewhere because you're too scared to touch it or anything. These wings seem a lot thicker. And I am going for the N64 variant, because that's the game I enjoyed the most, or at least remember the most. But of course the simplified polygons make it a little eh. So we're gonna make some concessions, for sure. This diamond shape pattern. Should we start something else over here? Just kind of extend these out a bit, maybe. Seems to be a separate extension here, though. Let me think about how these diamonds are. Maybe we'll subdivide this twice and create a little space for it here. Here, give it a lot of room to latch on to. And this will be the attachment point for those wings. Wonder if we can just move this down. Actually, instead of that, I think the subdivision, the one subdivision was the way to go. Tech. Yeah, one subdivision. One subdivision, and then we'll use this whole thing down here as an attachment point for the wing. Let's see. It's a very straightforward bit here. Very sharp. Much angles here. So, you know what we'll do? I will create a new edge here. That way we can do this. Just continue that edge outward. And then we'll pull that over here. It's pretty generous. And then it kind of goes inward and up. Does it reach above the cockpit? It does in this one. So we'll go a bit above the cockpit there. And we'll pull it back. Start making those shapes. And then that rear would attach to... How far back does it go? Seems to kind of evenly end with the pointed end of the ship. Maybe a little before it. So it's definitely behind the cockpit. So it's like way back here. Yeah, this is gonna be too small now, because this thing is huge. I'll pull that over a bit. And okay, so I hope I can actually go back. It does seem to have sweep back just a bit more. And then it angles. Yeah. So we'll take these two edges. And actually, you know what? Let's just create a point. And a little downward. And now everything can face to that, like so. We're getting that part. Maybe that's a bit too sharp. Too much. Basic shapes, basic shapes. We'll work on the details later. And maybe that can attach to here now. That's not good. We have a pentagram here, or a pentagon. So maybe it's more like that. No. Something was off. The shape isn't gonna be flat, and I'm wondering what I can do to alleviate that flatness. We could just do something like this. Create a number of faces. Would that disrupt the image too much? Awkward shapes here. Maybe the angle is a bit off. No, it's lining up pretty well. This, but the shape is clearly not going to print all that. This, and then this. Is that good enough? How does that even look? Let's extend a point out here. Feels like we're getting there. That'll need some time. Oh, no, I'm covering the image. We're definitely getting there. Let's try another. Up. This is looking more like the Super Nintendo version. Going way back. Let's see. But we will worry about details later. Let's think about the end of this hole. So we got this pointed bit. Yeah, that goes kind of inward and then circles around. Let's see. Like the whole back seems to be part of that. So let's make a face over here. And I can drag. Wait. That kind of comes off as a shield over here. But I don't want it to disrupt this event look over there, so maybe I have to add something. Because I don't think it'll look good if it's just flat like this. I feel it needs to stick out a bit more. Okay, so the fox is going to be up there. Alright, and then there's a widening bit here. It actually goes back like so. Not that far back. Back of it. Start connecting these two. I think we're on to something at least. Maybe this can be this part. Maybe this part goes out here. This does seem to provide a shroud. The engine, let's pull that down some. Is the engine like right behind the cockpit? Don't have any other rear view shots, unfortunately. But it's like right up there. That's kind of wild. Almost like this design would be super dangerous to actually have, you know? Let's see. I feel like this whole setup should be a little further back. So, how am I gonna get that? It's dragging the cockpit up, so as we can maybe subdivide here. As awkward as that it looks. cockpit isn't disrupted. It at least looks like there's some room to actually sit in it without toasting your butt on the engine. But at the same time, we must consider game logic. Not always the most sensible thing. Let's see. What are you going to attach to? Is there at least a little more room to play with? I don't think that sticks out any. I feel like this should be a little further up. No, not liking that. A bit outward. And these guys need to go back to the center. That's where you belong, boys. Oop. This looks kind of awkward now. So we have the engine shroud. Let's see. Make this a little cleaner. Let's line all these boys up. Okay, with scale, and we're going along the Y0, so they should be along the same plane. They are not, probably because we're using this one instead. So scale Y0, there we go. Now they're all on the same plane. Oops, I hit it. Extend it out just a wee bit. I gotta think, how am I gonna print this thing too? I think we can just make this into a face, and we will inset face, and we will drag these guys back over to the center. Get rid of the long lines. So we have some engine area it'll mess with. It's kind of diamond-y shaped. go inward along the Y, and then let's create something new. Let's go for the median. There. And then from the active element, I want to push it back outward a bit. And then these two can go down. Let's go back to median point. More of a diamond shape pattern, maybe. I also want to be able to put a magnet for the exhaust separately printed, so it can look like it has some energy flying out the back as well. So to that end, we will borrow this. This isn't right? Yeah, pretty sure. And we will just duplicate and drag that back here for us to use her. Is that properly aligned? Yeah, it should be. It should very well be. And we'll align that here. We can actually put like 2 or more magnets. Might add some needed strength. Might be a good idea. Alright, let's first drag this up just a wee bit. 2.8. Because the magnets are 3 millimeters, so that'll give us a little protrusion, which will help the magnets meet each other. We'll just duplicate this and have them on top of each other like that. And let's push this back. That active element. And let's get rid of the edge links. And we'll push it back to here. More centralized location. And I want to do a little protrusion here. Subdivide. Let's get the cursor over here and then use that for these guys. I'll shrink it just a wee bit. Heading towards that 3D cursor. Extrude again. And not only adds a little more dimension, but it'll give us some place for the engine exhaust part to kind of latch onto a little better. Something we will deal with later is. Is that the right line? These don't feel terribly well aligned, so we're gonna do this manually. There. Now we can take this and make a nice face. That'll be our engine. For now. Yeah, this is way further up. This is closer to the nose. Oh, easy enough. Let's see. The wings are kinda... half of this. Wings kind of go upward. Like this. is this? I like these thicker wings back here though. A little more body to work with. Back here. Do they stick past the blue? Seems like they can rotate a bit. So, and I do want to get that rotation for that all-range mode or all-terrain mode or whatever it was. For those more 3D battles. Let's see. And I'll probably do that with a hinge and like 2 sets of magnets, so you have those 2 modes. And I also want the laser cannons to sprout out from the bottom of these blue areas too. But again, we're mostly just doing the basic shapes right now. We'll worry about the details a little later, maybe in the next episode. I can connect these already. And then we have our wings. Shoot outwardly. And then we'll go along the Z. They're not actually flat though, so we'll just kind of steady it along the Z. Maybe a little further. And then the furthest yet. Let's go medium points. I mean, we can even just make that into a point. Oop. Let that merge. So the first one we're gonna have it fully out. So something like that. This is going to be needing to be a lot thicker. But we're definitely getting the shape. It's coming. It is a-coming. I feel like this needs to go back further though. It does look like it's attached to that point, so... both of these need to go back. Something along these lines. We're getting there. Ways of getting there. Let's thicken these boys up a bit. An idea of how wide these should be. So this will also have to come down a bit. Let's see by how much. 23. I want to make that 24. My OCD will not allow for anything else. There we go. Is that? It doesn't look level, but I guess it is. You can even go up a little bit. To 24. 24 seems like it'll be a lot, but it's about level, I guess. Okay. Oh dear. Does it connect here like this? Feels like this part actually sticks out a bit. The angles. I don't think it attaches directly. I think this part comes off. So it's an attachment point. And then I think it attaches to that. I think that's more accurate and far from perfect, I'm sure. But it'll work for now. For now. Solidify that. Let's see. And solidify these wings. Let's see. How does that attach back there? This seems to be doing its own thing. So maybe something like this. This going on. And these seem to be maybe some maneuvering jets. The wings actually go downward a bit more body. There does seem to be a gap in between them. Maybe this can actually attach closer to here. Something like that. Close this up. Or not. Close this up. And then this up. And we have the very basic start of our Arwing. Alright, well, I'm gonna take a break. I should be getting back to this soon. So, thanks for watching, and look forward to part 2, where we hopefully add a lot more detail and functionality to our beasts. I'll see you then.